Question number 8. Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is for the Minister for Social Housing. Does she agree with the Prime Minister when he said, "We've actually got quite a strong plan for dealing with the homelessness issue. I don't think we need a summit"?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, Mr Speaker, yes, we have an extensive work plan that's going on, particularly within emergency housing, but also that pipeline of social houses that are coming through. We're the first government to actually fund emergency housing providers. That's already making a big difference. And, of course, we've got a lot more work that we're progressing as we go.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Is that plan the one that includes paying people to get out of town, flying squads that don't exist, block booking motels, and hiring international consultants to propose things like putting the homeless in army barracks, tents and warehouses?
Mr Speaker, predominantly the plan is about us building more social houses, and particularly in Auckland where they're most needed. We can see that pipeline of build coming through. We can see more community housing providers getting involved and actually building more. We can see the support that's going on around emergency houses. It's the announcement that this government's made about supporting the Housing First initiative, where we see that going to be rolled out within West Auckland, Central and South Auckland, which of course will make a huge difference as well.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Is it ambitious for New Zealand that after 8 years of her government, there are 16,000 people in paid work or study who are homeless?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
I simply do not agree that there are 16,000 people that are homeless. But, Mr Speaker, what I would say is that you can see more work going on in this area than ever before, that we have New Zealanders that are living in a better quality of home because of the rebuild program that is going on. And in the members' own electorate, there is a massive rebuild program that is really making a difference.
Order. Order. Order.
Thanks, Jerry.
The Honourable Jerry Brownlee, I also need to now ask you. It's a substantially less interjection. You've been very vocal throughout question time, and it's not helpful to the order of this House. Phil Twyford, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Are we still on the cusp of something special when most homeless are families with children, according to the latest independent research from Otago University?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, that's simply not true. So it is simply not true. Actually, for the numbers that are... So, actually the research is wrong. So let's get it absolutely right. So if you break down the figures, there are simply not 41,000 people in a situation most New Zealanders would call homeless or living rough. So the actual numbers, for example, the number of people living rough or in an impoverished dwelling was 1,413 in 2013 and is now down slightly in 2006.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why won't she admit that she's not coping, that her response to homelessness is farcical, and will she reconsider the invitation to join the cross-party inquiry on homelessness so that she can find some lasting solutions to this crisis?
There are two supplementary questions there. The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, while that member's getting emotive, I'm getting on with action. And actually there is more going on in this area than there ever has before. We take the issues around housing, some of our least fortunate, very, very seriously. We can see progress happening, more money being spent and more attention on this than ever before.
Question number 9. Supplementary question, Marama Davidson.
How could she claim, in response to my question on Tuesday, that the reason the government didn't join the cross-party inquiry into homelessness was because, quote, we did it over 10 months ago, end quote, when she said in written questions from May this year that she had no research into the cost to the taxpayer of homelessness or any idea as to what the levels of homelessness actually are?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Because they're completely different questions.
Supplementary question, Marama Davidson.
Will the government join us at the remaining inquiry hearings, given the words from a father who was living homeless under her watch and now volunteers at Te Puea Marae, who said, quote, "What's John Key gonna do? He should be here looking at the problem. You fellas are looking at the problem," end quote.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, I'm sure also what Te Puea Marae have been saying is that they got extensive support from this government, with actually a number of officials that were on the ground there every single day to help those families as they came forward, and that they are still working with them. So this government is actually taking it seriously and is making a difference.
Question number 9, Todd Barclay.